When search names fell like lost buoys, she charted new routes through ping events and hidden filters. Every nightly import became a tie. Today, we name another Forge character and peek behind the curtain. Let's see how innovation meets artistry as we forge something extraordinary together.
You are listening to the Innovation Forge, the #1 podcast on adaptive enrollment management, exploring the data, marketing, and strategy that fuels higher education. Here's your host, David Dysart.
Welcome to a Coffee and Coals episode, our time to peek behind the curtain and learn a little bit more about the Innovation Forge. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and don't forget to stoke those coals. Today, I announce the next name of our enrollment aces. But first, we'll chat about, let's see how an enrollment ace and our topic takes shape today. Welcome back to the Coffee and Coals, where I pull the curtain aside, pour something warm, and talk honestly about the work behind the work, which already is a lie because I actually don't drink warm coffee usually. I make my own cold brew in the refrigerator. But now we can shift to the honesty about the work behind the work. And today I want to talk about O.R.E and what it is, how it came to be, and why it's becoming one of the most important tools in the Innovation Forge. And let me start here. In every admission office I've worked in, there were moments when the team noticed a trend before the rest of the field had language for it, or before it really permeated the consciousness of the industry. And at my previous institution, we saw something shifting in the data. We all tossed theories around, and this is something that I've even seen in my current position. We could feel that pattern changing, but we had nothing definitive to point to. No report, no validation, no shared reference frame. That experience really stuck with me, because if we're seeing signals without a place to store them, interpret them, or refine them, then the whole field has probably been letting huge amounts of meaningful data fall through the cracks. And that's really how O.R.E was born. So O.R.E stands for Observations on Recruitment and Enrollment, but the name is also literal. The project is about raw material, the half-formed ideas, the "is anyone else seeing this?" moments, the behaviors that don't show up in headlines but quietly reshape our work. And every O.R.E report starts the same way, with just a pile of unrefined rock and sediment. The survey findings, the small data anomalies, the behavioral shifts, policy drift, and just early indicators that are hiding at the edges still. Then we bring in the deep research. This is where the O.R.E gets melted. The noise burns away, the trend clarifies, and then what's left is something strong enough to build on. O.R.E takes these observations and turns them into something strategic, tactical, and actually implementable. Something that you can use in your office on Monday morning. And I think that there's a lot of reasons why this series matters. Higher ed is an environment full of signals, but starved for synthesis. The big issues get attention, sure, but the smaller shifts are often more important for day-to-day enrollment management. Change in how students communicate, a small but steady rise in a behavior pattern, a decline in a metric that we've relied on for years, a new tool with uncertain implications, a shift in what families ask about, or maybe it's just a growing hesitation in a segment we once thought was stable. Individually, these are pebbles. Collectively, they are seismic. And our field rarely has the space dedicated to gathering them, interpreting them, and explaining what to actually do about them. And that's what O.R.E is built to deliver. Every installment goes through the same sequence. Not because I love structure for structure's sake, but because the ritual produces clarity. First, we start with the extraction. This is the signal, the oddity, the little spark that says, pay attention. Then the smelting. Bring in the deep research and separate fact from assumption. This is where the impurities burn off and the shape of the trend becomes visible. Forging, the interpretation. What does this trend mean for enrollment strategy, staffing, modeling, communications, policy, for the actual work we do? Tempering, the actionable piece, the practical moves, the experiments you can run. It's the heat, pressure, and resilience. And then the polishing, the final insight, the part that stays with you long after the episode ends. The aim really here is simple. Turn raw observations into refined intelligence. Turn scattered data into something you can actually act on. Turn the O.R.E into a usable tool. The beauty of this project is that the field is constantly supplying new material. Here are some of the upcoming topics sitting on the workbench right now. Communication preferences of prospective college students, AI and enrollment and admissions management, the tools, outcomes, and risks, tuition elasticity, willingness to pay and aid strategy, mental health trends and enrollment stability, international undergraduate enrollment post-COVID, high intent signals and high converting applicant segments, understanding deposit melt and summer engagement challenges, and then parent behavior and college decision making. Each of these contains O.R.E that is just waiting to be refined, and each one reveals what institutions are wrestling with in real time, and each one will end with the moves that your team can put into practice immediately. That's the promise of the series, not just information, but actual implementation. O.R.E itself is not just another content series. It's a response to something I felt in every institution I've worked in. It's the frustration of knowing something is happening, but not having the vocabulary, the evidence, or the framing to explain it. And this project exists so that we don't lose those signals anymore. So that when someone in your office asks, is this a thing or am I just imagining it? You can say, let's check the O.R.E. All right, the coffee's getting low and the coals are settling. So just know this, O.R.E is not about being clever, it's about being clear. It's about taking the raw materials of our field, the data, behavior, drift, anxiety, and the opportunity, and just refining them into something we can hold, shape, and use. These aren't predictions, they're preparations. They're the tools that you can carry into the cycle ahead. Every signal starts as raw O.R.E. The work begins when we strike. Today we name our Slate captain from the Enrollment Aces. But first, we must learn about her origin story. Long before she gripped the great wooden wheel of the data CSS, the Slate captain was an ordinary enrollment analyst, marooned on an island of messy spreadsheets. One stormy cycle, she heard the distant call of a portal bell and found an ancient, brass-bound helm etched with configurable joins. With a single spin, the world around her transformed. Admissions data formed channels like ocean currents, queries bent like trade winds, and every record became a vessel waiting for a captain. She built her ship from exports and liquid markup, sails stitched from decision rules, and a compass set by query filters. When search names fell like lost buoys, she charted new routes through ping events and hidden filters. Every nightly import became a tide. Every triggered delivery email a signal lantern across the fog. The captain now roams the CRM waters, steering institutions clear of the shoals of duplicate records and through the maelstrom of melt. She teaches crew members, her fellow Slate-rights and deckhands, how to set their own courses with joins that bind more firmly than any rope. She's known for turning tangled data streams into clear shipping lanes, mastery of configurable joins and liquid markup, rallying staff through the melt season squalls, keeping communications aligned when storms of last-minute edits hit, and training a new generation of Slate-rights to captain their own CRM vessels. You'll know her by her motto, "When the storm hits, I navigate the ship. Every challenge is an opportunity to steer the team towards victory." And I, of course, am talking about our Slate captain, Corinne Crossjoy. Let's forge something extraordinary together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please grow the guild by rating and reviewing the Innovation Forge podcast, or sharing it with a colleague who needs to hear about these creative crossovers in education. The best review or comment every month will get an ebook of my book, of course. Particularly great ones will also be featured on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me in the workshop today. Remember to strike true, and let's forge something extraordinary together. I was not prepared for Blackboard. I thought I was. I brought a test log and a scrubbed shell course, even set up a VPN, but when I opened the dashboard, it wasn't blank. It was full. Modules nested within modules, forums last touched in 2007, still blinking new, rubrics inside of rubrics, some referencing criteria I've never seen before, effort, echo, obedience. I scrolled and scrolled, assignment labeled due before. One simply said, continue the lesson. I clicked, the system froze for a moment. Then my screen went dark. When it came back, I was listed as the instructor, the only instructor. My office hours were posted. A recording of my voice played. Only I've never said those words. You must complete the loop. Then I saw it floating in the corner. The librarian. Cloaked in LED chalk dust, face shrouded in dim rubric light, its hand flickered like broken projectors, forever scrolling. It did not turn to look at me, but I felt graded, and I failed, not on content, on presence. I was insufficiently configured. I tried to log out. The logout button took me to the syllabus. I clicked the last link. It redirected me to week 1. Again, I'm still in week 1. Every day is week 1. Blackboard, the void librarian of recursive lessons. Please reply to at least 2 classmates. Please reply to at least 2 classmates. Please reply.